Yeah, the thumbnail. One, go. Welcome to a tier list video. Back to basics, baby. Let's go.
We don't need to say something like that though. It's not like we still don't do them frequently, because we do.
Feels like it's been eons.
It feels like it's been ages since it's been ages since I've done anything. I can't do anything. I'm completely disabled.
Yeah. Speaking of disabled.
No, that's not a segue. That's not anything. Is it actually? Hold on. Actually, I'm gonna let you cook.
Oh fuck! I really didn't want you. I knew you were gonna shut me off.
You were counting on me interrupting you.
Yes,
Well, guess what, Tyler? The floor is yours. Guess what?
Oh no. We're here to talk about updates / seasons. I think, as far as Harry said, since launch of Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah, well, actually, this actually includes the launch update. So, first of all, I want to just say, yeah, this is unsurprisingly probably going to be not in like spirit. Well, actually, no, in spirit, yes, but not in tone. But in spirit, this is probably the most cynical thing we've done, really. Just taking the product and the products, the sub-products, and just laying them out and being like, this one's shit, this one's good. Look how much better this work that you did, Anders, is compared to this other one. In spirit, this is quite cynical, but I think this is actually going to err on the side of being interestingly complimentary, even for some of the worst ones. I'm not sure.
Now, I feel like we have faith enough in our usual suspects or viewers that they won't use this argument. But for any new person, please do not use the "it's free, so shut up" argument on these updates.
Well, speaking of that kind of thing, I'm not opposed to people raising points at all.
No, you can still, like, obviously we don't welcome, but we can't stop criticism and differing opinions. As much as we wish you would keep it to yourselves, you just keep commenting them all the time. But yeah, do that. You could say, "Oh, you were completely wrong. Season 4 was a masterpiece. It has literally changed my life for the better." You can say that if you want. We can't stop you. But if you say you can't say Season 4's bad because you didn't pay for it, shut up, then please just don't comment. Otherwise, comment. But I feel like we just have to get ahead of that.
It would genuinely be more productive, I think, to treat all the updates as if they each cost £50. That would genuinely be more conducive to an interest, like a satisfying discussion, than just saying, "Oh, they're all free, so it doesn't matter."
Or at least they're all like the cost of the game, because like if you get the game for that update, how worth was that? You know what I mean? How we can twist the logic. But the point is sure, getting content is always good, but getting good content is better than getting bad content.
Yeah.
So that's
basically whatever's in the S tier. The perfect season 6 is the combination of all those things. I don't know what's going to be in the S. I thought I had an idea. We'll see. We know what's going to be lower down though. Anyway, I think it's time to begin. Obviously, we don't. Let's be honest. I think it's been a while since we've spent time before starting one of these to like figure out what our methodology is, and I think that's fair. I don't think we should actually do that. I think we should just jump in like we have been for the last few and just sort of figure out.
It would be difficult to figure out. I mean, obviously, S is like above average. Ideal.
S is above average.
Yeah. Well, no,
sure.
It's like even like I feel like most updates should be good, but this is like even better than that somehow. And then like A is good. B is probably it was an update. We got new stuff, right? That's probably the best thing we're gonna be able to say about it. C
I guess when you go below B, you go into the territory of either things where it's like sort of in the realm of wasn't worth the wait, or actually added or made negative changes and things like that.
C is probably not worth the wait, or at least like the content is lacking generally. D is probably actually legitimately makes the game worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
I don't know. You know, I don't
uh,
know about that. So we'll partially go on feeling as well as that very loose methodology we just came up with. But in the meantime, I want to show you this wonderful thing. This is the Wheel of Fortune. Um, this is how we choose our subjects. I previously have not shown this before. And I would like to show it to you now. And obviously, it's kind of arbitrary because there's no real order to this anyway. I mean, there is because they're in chronological order, but all that matters is that we can see the order that they would be in when we're looking at the tier list. So it's useful to have it be randomized for us. It doesn't take the edge off. Actually, it adds the edge. It adds tension. It means we don't know quite what's going to happen. Tyler still doesn't know what's going to happen because he can't see this. Oh my god. Which one is that? Oh my god. Well, it's not really an oh my god. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. That's quite excessive.
yeah. Oh my god, is like the most recent couple.
Yeah.
I
Oh
think
dear,
that
I
would be
accidentally just
crazy stuff.
removed everything. Yeah. What we got is update 33. I think it is New Frontiers. Oh,
I
I just
assume
remembered.
you.
Obviously, we're gonna have to. Well, I'm not gonna rely on Tyler's knowledge, but I'm gonna hope that he
I
remembers
assume
what these
you
are for the
have
most part.
the stuff that's in them, the key big stuff, which I think we'll say briefly, right? Which you will need to
Can
say
you
because
see
I don't
that?
remember this. See what the
Don't worry. I don't know what it just did. I don't know what it just. Don't worry, nothing happened. Yeah. So this is update 33, New Frontiers, which happened actually in the same year as season one. So if anyone remembers the year of season one, it wasn't the only big update that year. Because earlier in the year, in February, we had New Frontiers, which so headline features new biomes, Azir Wield and Hollow Bow, new enemies, of course. We've got the Mactera Trijaw and Brundle, and better than that, as far as new enemies go, we got the non-vanilla Dreadnoughts, the other two Dreadnoughts, or other three, I guess. Even other things, the smaller things that it kind of treats as like headline features were the Salvage Operation overhaul, which added the connection of the fuel cell, for example, and also things like not salvaging, locating the mini mule legs, where you scan the mini mule and it tells you the location, and it's just got a bunch of stuff. I think it had a bunch of new jukebox songs, but I won't obviously go through everything. I will if we need more backing, for example, for like our take. But we have definitely had a couple moments of discussion where we've put this update actually on quite a pedestal, haven't we? Because
yeah.
it's a couple big things and not much of it went alright. But that's not entirely true. I mean, let's start with the biggest two though, which is the biomes and the biomes. It's the biomes. And I would say not a misstep there. Yeah.
Both of them are beloved in their own different ways. They both have problems, but in no way, shape, or form in a way that is like worse. It's just the average biome has a negative, right? Like it's pretty usual.
Yeah, like Azure Wield, for
Azure
example,
Wield
like
is
sometimes I don't like it.
absolutely beautiful,
Yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it?
but
But
you can't fucking see anything sometimes.
yeah,
Like
Hollow Bow
so, it's
is like genuinely maybe the coolest in concept that they have, and it's also very interesting to play in because of the hazards and like the different terrain and stuff. But that also makes it more
it is
hazardous
still a
and
pain in the
therefore
ass.
sometimes more frustrating. Yeah, but it's still an awesome
Yeah,
like S tier biome anyway, and Azure was probably like an A tier biome for us. I know that the Hollow
both
Bow
of
is
them have.
actually our opinion of Hollow Bow is actually a bit higher than I think the consensus is. But we still
Yeah.
like it.
Well,
So
and it's like they're both like notably improved biomes compared to previous ones, right? Like Hollow Bow just has like not Hollow Bow. Azure World has like a couple anomalous structures just for fun. Like it will increase the defense of anything that comes through it, or there's just a anti-grav pit just for fun. Not to mention all the other unique flora and fauna and stuff like that. Like
Gherkin
the
shock.
biomes, S tiers on their own.
That's what I was gonna say. So I was gonna say as a individual edition, the biomes are an S tier edition, and then you kind of go,
It's a damn shame that this is still the most recent time we've gotten biomes.
It is, isn't it?
Like,
I think it's not a particularly well placed thing to bring up, but I think that probably is a lock for season 6. We'll just have to wait and see, but I'd be very surprised if that wasn't a headliner for season 6. Oh well. But yeah, then we go to the Dreadnoughts, I suppose, which are I would say, the most interesting thing to talk about, really, because that is such a big thing and such an awesome thing when we got those Dreadnoughts, and they really did a lot for elimination. I would say overall they helped elimination, but
elimination was definitely one of the worst.
Yeah, they are still the target of a lot of frustration for people, those new Dreadnoughts, you know? And they're not perfect. They're not perfect.
I hated the twins when they came out. I thought they were completely overwhelming and absurd. And then eventually they just weren't that. Like, they take a bit of warming up.
I think the twins are really cool. I think they are actually a really cool example of a twins boss fight, actually. Like, genuinely. I think that healing mechanic is very... I think twin boss fights, they do tend to have healing mechanics. That's not actually that weird for them to have, like, joint healing. But the way they do it, I think, is really interesting. Mainly because it's almost... I think they have, like, a thing where they are forced to do it at least once, I'm pretty sure. Either way, it's a really cool twins boss fight. But the Hive Guard, on the other hand, is a little bit more finicky.
Yeah. As in, there was like a good couple months where it was like the biggest soft lock in the game. It just became immortal. And I mean, it's never really improved from there. Like, it is not great, the Hive Guard. But still, ultimately, improves elimination, right?
Exactly.
The diversity did still improve it, even if the Hive Guard has gotten a bit sore.
Yeah, it has. And I mean, look, elimination is like... It's basically joint with Mine Expedition for my favourite mission type. And that is because of this change. Even though I kind of want normal Dreadnoughts all the time, but I know I would find it more boring if that was the case. And I mean, this also did include the changes to the vanilla Dreadnought that made it better. That made it better to fight. Obviously, it took them a while to get to backwards into itself fireball shooting. That took a while, but they still, you can't cheese it anymore. And I love cheesing it. There was no greater feeling really than setting up like 40 proximity mines to delete a Dreadnought within 10 seconds, right? That was awesome, but it was also cheesy as hell and, not engaging. Elimination was trivial before this. It was like easy, too easy, actually. So that was really important. We also got, the other Macteras, which are a little bit of a can of worms anyway. But let's be honest. Would you agree that the game is better off for them? I know people hate the Tri-Jaw, but is it actually bad? Is it actually? I don't think it is.
The Macteras definitely needed it.
The Macteras needed it, for sure. The Macteras needed it.
Like, as much as I hate the Tri-Jaws, the worst part about it is the bundles and how essentially pointless they are.
Like, yeah, and Tri-Jaws are specifically very easy to kill. I think their weak point is definitely bigger than even the normal Mactera, because they are bigger. They've got a big, juicy weak point, and they feel good to kill, not just because they feel good to kill. The feedback is good, the big weak point feels good to hit, but you also hate them. So killing Tri-Jaws feels really good as well. So there's that.
But Grundles are just tankier Mactera, which is like fine, but why make such an interesting like slasher variant, right? Where it's like now a tri-shot, and then just kind of call it a day with just a bit of armor on the Grundle. I don't know.
I know that it's technically it's because you could even say like, oh, that's technically what the guard is. It's like, yes, but the guard actually does have a unique maneuver. It does like guard its face. Its face is normally exposed, and it's not unique that the Grundle's always covered up. That's not inherently unique. What would be unique if it's like
they have the right to be simple, right? Just like does more damage, takes more damage. Like, that's fine. They're grunts, but the Macteras they started to get a bit spicier, and then they just called it a day on the Grundle. Like, when we saw that, I feel like we never really moved on for the fact that we thought that Grundle should melee attack, right? It should just come down and hit you.
Yeah.
Like, we never moved on from that being how it attacks.
No, and I still haven't.
But
I still haven't.
Yeah, I think a neutral addition.
I think so too. Like, I mean, and obviously,
the game is generally better, like as good as adding new enemies can be.
Yeah. And it added just a bunch of other smaller stuff too. Obviously, like I said, a bunch of new jukebox things. It added the fucking meal docking animation, the ability to director as like the thing you can bring back ahead, all of that stuff. A bunch of miscellaneous fixes too. It was I think it would be accurate to say this is, despite the caveats and things, I just think the overall improvement to the game places this above the middle for sure. I think this is
Definitely.
A. Maybe low A though, upon like really thinking about it, just because of how controversial some of it was. But those you can't really 2 new biomes. It's quite the addition, and to have that and to have it still be fairly like substantial aside from that is quite impressive. So,
and I feel like I'm not sure if we should. We're gonna have to bring it up, so we might as well. Do you know how long it took? How long the wait between this and 33 was?
that is a good question. I think obviously Roughnecks and this were back to back. They basically planned out these 2 big updates, and they came out one after the other, not necessarily soon. October for Roughnecks, so that's 1, 2.
5 months. Right?
Well, isn't it technically 4 months? Go October, then to November, then December, then January, February. It is 4 months. Technically less because Roughnecks was like late October, New Frontiers was early February. So just under 4 months. And Roughnecks was also Roughnecks, which is a substantial update in its own right. So it's got clout there too. If we want to consider that definitely solidifies it staying in A for sure.
Yeah, well, I think because I know that for things later on, it will be considered. So we might as well bring it up now.
That is actually very, very fair. That's fair because it's definitely going to be used as a criticism later on.
4 months, 2 new maps, 2 new Dreadnought variants, and like 2 new Matera, which I mean that's eating good really for 4 months.
And just a bunch of other smaller stuff and like long-term requests like saving director and meal docking. I think they even overhauled the mineral trade terminal to what it is now, which is actually a nice part of the game. So just a great package. It's the kind of thing. Well, this is what Roughnecks and New Frontiers are. They really are proto seasons. Like they are when you look at them. They like match the size and. Well, that's kind of it. But they match the size and bring like sort of very specific headline. They're quite themed as well, so things like that. Anyway, I think it's time to move on to another one.
Yeah.
So that's this is probably one you would run into with like showing the wheel because obviously I'm switching between the wiki and the wheel page. So when I tried to show the wheel, it's showing the wiki. Oh well, there you go. Spin the wheel. Oh, okay. Okay, that's a bit more modest than season 4. It's a bit.
You use that word specifically, or?
Oh no, sorry. I remember this actually. One of them is literally this one right here is literally called modest in the wheel. It's not that though. Yeah. It's not what we got. We got season 3.
Oh fucking hell! So much for modest.
Well, it's a bit more humble than season 4, I think.
I guess. Although
5. I don't even know if I need to bring up a wiki page for this necessarily. I think it's pretty. It's in my head quite cleanly. I think.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well just list the main.
Well, yeah, we know what it added. So obviously, it's season 3, so it adds season 3 bells and whistles. We got our pass and cosmetic tree and DLCs and things like that. I don't know if we want to consider. No, we're not going to consider DLC actually. That's. No, not DLC. But yeah, aside from the basic season stuff, it also added new grenades. Not for the first time, but it added new grenades. It added the Rockpox enemy type, and therefore also the Rockpox, the Lift outbreak warning. Obviously added the Meteor Impact event, the 2 Meteor Impact events actually, 2 different meteor type events. Some new caves, The first sort of sign of adjustment to previous season content, adjusted the rival content, and honestly, a pretty genuinely good round of weapon balancing too. It did basically made the EP, say what we will about the EPC, it made it what it is now, which is better than what it used to be. It also brought the GK2 rework, which made the GK2 pretty great, and it buffed a couple of other things too. But season 3 is weird because I don't think I would call it like a wet fart or anything. It's not like it's, you know, or what would you call it, a fart in the wind. I haven't forgotten about it, but it's not like an overly positive time either. You know, that's kind of
That
how I
being
see
said, it did reach like height player concurrent number on launch. It brought in the most people until just now, season 5.
it.
So it was an all-time peak player numbers.
Perhaps not deservedly. You know.
Well, it's still worth mentioning. I think most, like a majority of the community, I think, you know, would consider this a good, like this is like the game, right? Season 3. That's when
and just
people jumped
objectively
on.
speaking, I don't think it actually added I don't think it actually added anything bad. In that, I kind of think everything that it added was good. With the exception of the spring-loaded Ripper, which, you know, all that really did was exacerbate the driller's grenade problem. So that kind of was.
I think we should maybe. I mean, because I have a lot of thoughts on the grenades they added. I would say, like, it has a bit of an issue that I mean, what you said earlier, like kind of hot air, because realistically, right, the events were good. Like the big meteorite especially, and the little ones, I mean, I would say they are kind of hot air, right? That was just something they kind of added so you can get hearts on like Rockpox missions, basically, because you couldn't get the meteorite on those ones.
Yeah.
But then, like within Rockpox itself, obviously that you did have the warning. That was the thing. That was fair enough. But then the Rockpox enemies, I think, in hindsight, especially at this point, were just fucking nothing.
Right? Well, particularly in season 3, you know, actually, which will be one of the nicer things to say about season 4. But also, what season 3 kind of is, it's a bit of a prelude. I mean, it's literally a prelude to season 4, but it's a bit of a prelude to season 4 in that it set up the kind of awkward and kind of frustrating thing about season 3 and 4 was there was just clearly too much of a focus on the themed content, on content that wasn't going to be a mainstay, and that kind of hurt it. Also, just think about the content in season 3 that is like that is mainstay stuff. It's just, well, actually, there's some stuff. It's the grenades, it's some new cave shapes, and some decent weapon balancing. But you know, I feel bad about this because I've never doubted that Ghost Ship are working to their fullest, but I still think 1 grenade per class was weak. I think 2 would have been perfect and probably doable. I think it really should have been 2, and I think they would have done a lot. It just wasn't. Well, it's kind of thin in terms of content that has legs.
Right. Well, season 3 was very much, as we mentioned, the warning sign for season 4, and I think it's because they added a bunch of things that no one asked for. Really, that's like, I think the main problem, I think, is that like grenades.
Well, the headlining features were things that no one was clamoring for. Grenades weren't really being thought about. You know, grenades weren't being thought about, and the Rockpox. Well, yeah, and the Rockpox is just like this new thing that would have been appreciated if it was good enough for everyone. I hesitate to say bad, but it was bad as far as I think the majority of people were concerned, and if it wasn't, then it would have been appreciated. And that's kind of the frustrating thing, I think, for Ghost Ship about season 1 through 4, to be honest. It's probably the worst thing about that sort of entire long stretch was the themed content not being appreciated probably as much as Ghost Ship wanted. But I mean, look, that's because the implementation is kind of fucky for a lot of it. For like the season content, and season 3 is no exception. I think it probably should be in C, right?
You... yeah. I mean, 3 new enemies, which are the Rockport's Glyphids, which are all just reskins. So really nothing game changing. The new warning, which I think, while interesting, I think even like people hated it. We don't hate it, but we still have a problem with it,
Yeah.
right? Like it was,
Oh,
yeah,
I mean,
actively like people were
Tyler,
like, this makes missions far too fucking long. This
I
is absurd. Like
yeah, I don't
I'm
know if
trying
you were
to
going to get
mine
to it though.
minerals.
I don't know if you were going to get to this or not, but we should actually give season 3 the credit where it deserves. In the big meteorite event is pretty fucking good. It's pretty.
The
So
best seasonal like event,
yeah, and I think that
I would
includes
say.
I think that includes the core stone, by the way.
Yeah, although it is
Better than the core
close.
stone.
They did. We'll get season 5, but it is good. But yeah, no, I think it definitely is the best. But I don't think it's outweighed by everything else. Like the other one being kind of annoying to a point, right? Where you
Yeah,
eventually just stop bothering. I mean, I never really did, but I wouldn't blame anyone that did.
yeah. It also it
But
didn't take a short amount of time. I think it was just over 6 months it took. Which is not like
or
actually wasn't disturbing necessarily as far as what they
isn't it
said.
7?
I
No, that was actually the next one.
I think it's the
It
next
was
one. Yeah, it was just over 6, but then season 3 to 4 was like definitively 7.5. I think definitively.
which is still relevant to 3. That means
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we were sat on it for a while.
Exactly. And season 3 did not benefit from that. It's kind of a shame. It took a bit longer than it probably should, and it stuck around for far too long. I think it's got to be C. I think.
Yeah. And I feel like I should avoid talking too much about the grenades, but I genuinely think they were just a bad idea. And most of them have actually did more negative than good. The Ripper, completely pointless. No one uses it. Anyone who does is literally throwing because they'll probably kill one of their teammates.
It's the kind of thing where
Um,
when I sort of try and
the,
come back at it with sort of my more developed and consistent experience with the game compared to you, I realise that you're actually right. When I think about these issues and things, I think the only one where it's kind of the only one where it's truly neutral is Ghana. That's like the true neutral one, like genuinely.
Burns
Um,
grenade is the others. I think Scouts Boomerang is I think honestly perfect generally because I think the fact that some people think it's absolutely terrible while other people can't stop using it because of how good it is, that is perfect. That's
well,
ideal.
it's 50-50, isn't it? That's what I mean. It's actually 50-50. It's Engineer and Driller who suffered. Um,
Yeah,
Gunner and Scout
Drillers
didn't.
was a bucket of fart. Nothing worth talking about, which is ironic considering he literally has that as a grenade,
And then with
which is more huge.
yeah, and then with Engineer, they added his impact axe
He
basically.
added the grenade that now everyone uses. When was
Yeah,
the last time you saw an engineer using a lure, a fucking
I can't
plasma
tell. I
grenade or
can't
whatever,
remember the last time I played with someone.
or proximity? I mean, yeah, sure. I'm talking to audience. My point is, they don't.
I miss using
If you play
proximities.
engineer, yeah, but you're a loser and you're playing your own. But you just generally speaking, it's like probably like a 70 to 80% pick rate of shredders. It's literally they added the brain rot like simple grenades to a character whose grenades are inherently require mastering to
Yeah,
use, and so instead of mastering the other grenades, people are just like, nah, fuck that noise. I'm going to use the auto grenade. Point is, I genuinely think the grenade that did more damage than good.
exactly. So the grenades aren't even like aren't even a super positive. They're not actually.
No,
They're definitely not bringing
even
season
then we
3
think there
up.
wasn't enough,
I personally think
right?
they're a net neutral. But I don't. I think you're valid in your criticism. Um, anyway, so but I think that tells us that this is where it's going to be. I think C is the right place. It's definitely not a hit on the game enough to be like a bad update. It's not. It's not. It's not great though. It's definitely not great. Anyway, I think
It
it's
was a
time
bad
to.
omen
It's a bad
when
omen.
we saw it at the
It's a
time.
bad omen. All right, it's time to spin that wheel again. Do 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 do. Oh no! Well, actually, not. Oh no, we can actually be pretty quick about this one. Um. Okay. we're onto a maintenance update.
All right.
February. So this is February this year, by the way, everyone. So the maintenance updates we could. I don't want to slip into the weird thing about them. The weird problem with them, but because I don't think that the biggest problem with the maintenance update should not really be used in this context, because it's not Deep Rock that they affected more than anything.
No, but it did though. In the delaying of Roll Call's release, it delays season 6 as well. It affects everything because they're one team, right?
Yeah, but the
And
no, it's important to say, in my opinion, the February one is what makes that problem for me, not the November one, because the fact is both of those updates caused an issue internally that caused things to be shifted, but good God, this one was not worth it. I'm sorry, the February maintenance update was a wet fart. I just don't want to be blunt.
I think the February update, like halfway through, or maybe even earlier, they realized, oh shit, we've like basically got to start working on season 5 now, realistically, and we haven't like done anything for this. We've made like a lot less progress on roll call than we would have liked as well. Which I do not think it was the February updates was the reason. I think that like it would have been like a couple weeks earlier start on Deep Rock than they would have liked, instead of just working on season 5, right? Like, it's not that big a deal. It was definitely the other maintenance update that sent roll call back like half a year.
Okay, maybe it was definitely the bigger one, but the February one, I mean, remember the second maintenance update was originally scheduled for March. And they sort of just surprised. That was honestly the best thing about this update, was the fact that it was they just surprised us with it early, and they're like, "Oh, look at this!" And I looked at what it was in it, and it's like, "Oh, that's pretty thin," and that didn't change when it actually came out. It added the prop hunt beer, and it also did just a bunch of major bug fixes from major ones, like big stuff from the Please Fix website. It was pretty important, some of it, especially like the armor breaking fixes. Definitely not stuff to scoff at, but for it to sort of take up,
nothing to chew on.
An update. Yeah, exactly. Nothing to chew on either. Not really. And that was the big difference between it and the November one. Nothing bad, actually, just objectively speaking, in a vacuum. Nothing about this was bad. It is all positive tweaks and additions. But very thin, very shallow, and yeah, just like you said, not much to chew on. Although part of me would feel almost a little bit bad for putting it low. I was going into this expecting this to be like a very definitive C, but at the same time, it's the one I care about the least of all of these updates. So I have no strong feelings.
I think generally, thanks to the bug fixing, I mean, time spent versus like good gained, it's probably just B, right? Like,
yeah, I think it would actually be kind of wrong to be like say. I think it'd be kind of wrong to say this is teetering towards bad, because it's really not.
We don't need more of these updates, like, really, right? Like, but I'm glad we still had it. Like, there was improvements that were had, and it hopefully didn't take too much time. I don't know. Yeah, it's harmless, I think, generally. So, I think B will do.
Yeah. That's about the amount. I think that's the right amount of time to spend on that one.
About as much time as they spent on
it. Proportionally, maybe. All right, let's spin that wheel again. Ooh, lovely. I like that. Okay. We've got a delicious little fella here. A sumptuous king. 1.0. The 1.0 launch. So this is actually an interesting one. First of all, it's interesting as to why I even included it. Because if you look at the wiki and you look at the update history, it actually lists what the 1.0 update as pre 1.0. But fuck it, we're putting it here. Now, what we do need to consider is actually what it was, which was not much of an update in the way that the others are. And I will find it as soon as I can, so I can actually explain what was in this update. Obviously, it represents something pretty important, doesn't it? Being literally the launch of the game. But the main thing that it added was actually Volume 2 of the soundtrack.
Let's go, gamers.
So take that as you will, but also don't. Let me spell it out for you. That's hot. Like, genuinely. That is not something to scoff at even remotely. I know it's not gameplay content, but
a lot of things if we could get more music in the game to make it feel fresher. But so is that literally like basically it?
I mean, there's quite a lot of bug fixes here, but those are bug fixes. A lot actually. What are the miscellaneous things? Community requests. Okay, that's not that important. Yeah, so the other stuff, promotion tiers. It actually expanded the promotions up to legendary. So it did that, which, look, obviously that did spawn my greed for infinite tiers, right? But it also substantiated so much playtime in its own right by adding those tiers. So that's pretty great. It also added all of the prestige assignments, which are all of these assignments that they added that where you earned like cosmetics from them. And they would go like one after the other. So you would do one and then the next one would appear. Do you remember those? All the pickaxes and the Gloomstalker helmet ones.
Yeah.
Ending with Black Crag. He added all of those as well. Some really nice stuff. And also, I think that second soundtrack being part of the 1.0 update, this not big update, just this nice moment though, commemorating 1.0. I mean, it was a very nice time. And as far as adding stuff to the game, you don't need to do anything. You could just be like just building up to the point where the game is ready to call it 1.0 and just saying it. But no, they did stuff. And look, Volume 2 is better than Volume 1. So I think most people agree with that. It's got that going for it. So
Volume 2 haters in the chat.
Are there any? Are there any?
I think there'll be haters on either side, but there might be preferers, like yourself. Yeah, I mean, it's just a celebration more than anything. Because I know, if I recall, not that they're on here, but the ones before were pretty meaty. But this was, so it's not like we hadn't had anything for a while, right? It's just kind of like,
no, it's
they were
finally good.
And so they just pressed the button and then launched it into the stratosphere. I mean, is it not A?
I think it's a very easy, clean A. It's not like substantial or game changing enough to be like an incredible thing, but there is nothing but actual. This isn't even neutral either. It's just nothing but actual pretty strong positivity here, radiating from this thing.
It's just like an anniversary. I mean, it is the anniversary. It's like the birth celebrates the birthday.
It's actually not. This isn't now. No. This came because the 1.0 launch was in May.
Whoa.
And they don't commemorate it either. They still just February's the anniversary still. So that's kind of interesting. Which actually means it kind of isn't really seen as Deep Rock's launch anymore. But it's a very nice.
Like the first anniversary already occurred before that even went live. Like,
well, yeah, there's been a couple. There's been 2, 3 actually.
It would be difficult. Yeah,
no,
it would be difficult to celebrate. But yeah, no, it's good. Moving on.
Yeah, I think so. That's fine. Don't need to spend time on that one. Spin the wheel. Oh my god, it's still not another season. We're gonna be left with like most of the seasons, I'm pretty sure. But what it is though is another substantial fellow. It's Roughnecks at Work, update 32. So yeah, there it is.
Roughnecks at Work.
Moving on. No, not moving on.
I mean, in hindsight, I mean, I'm not sure how much I'm going to fight this guy's battle.
Yeah, I know, it's interesting, isn't it? So, but Roughnecks at Work was definitely exciting when it was the first of these sort of bigger planned updates. I think actually when they planned these out, when they put out like a pretty substantial roadmap, it included This New Frontiers and the update that became Season 1, because I think they had new weapons on there too. So it's a really exciting roadmap, and this was the first taster of it, which was, of course, new mission types, basically. And that is the long and short of it, though. I think this is not as substantial of an update as New Frontiers, to be honest. It added the on-site refining mission type and escort duty mission type. It did add quite a few other things. It added a bunch of new cosmetics. It was really the first taster of that kind of thing, getting big dumps of new cosmetics to unlock, and it was appreciated. It was quite...
Yeah, cosmetics weren't like given to you every fucking update, which I feel like is worth saying considering how many people start with seasons. There were just times where you just wouldn't get any cosmetics for like a year.
Well, yeah, I do see it as the second biggest part of the update. Just all of these new cosmetics that they added. They teased them quite a bit as well. Other things like the randomized button in the wardrobe, but that was kind of it. Apart from quite a lot of weapon balancing, which honestly I probably don't remember how things were before these changes. So, we're not going to go through them, but I can just assume it's probably all good. But, it's time for a bit of brutal honesty. You know, in concept, pretty amazing. You know, getting 2 new mission types in an update. In practice and in just sort of long-term digestion, mixed feelings.
I think it's like, even just without even looking at either of the 2 game modes specifically, just thinking releasing 2 at a time, one is going to come out on top, right? I know you could say the same thing for biomes, but biomes are kind of different. You don't always get to pick the biome, right? Like, I know you got like, you know, mission assignments and so forth, but
well, the biome is a backdrop.
Mode,
the game mode. Well, think about it in the context of an assignment. The mission is the more forced aspect of it. If you get an escort duty, it's going to be an escort duty, but obviously it will change. The biome probably going to change with pretty much every time the missions rotate. The biome it's in will probably change.
It matters little, even if you have a preference. Like, it's not the end of the world if it's something you don't like. But game modes, they're a lot harder hitters, right? As in, they can hit you a lot more if you like it. Like a mission you really like, you would enjoy a lot more than a biome you really like. But also, a game mode that you vehemently hate is pretty bad.
It's more damning, isn't it? Like, I mean, do you have a biome that you dislike?
I mean, I feel like I just went along with the magma core thing. I don't think I ever minded it that much, probably because Driller's like immune to most of the damage.
But even then, things like the magma core and the fungus bugs, they are, you know, in a way, yeah, in a way they're irritating. But have we ever been, has anyone really ever been put off by the biome, like, completely? I don't think so. You know.
I feel like maybe when we were early on, we were like, "Oh no, it's a magma core mission. Let's call it a day." Like, did like stuff like that, but it never really mattered.
No, I embrace pretty much all the biome. Honestly, the only one I really don't like is probably dense biozone. It's for me because they fucking shockers. But yeah, missions are a different story completely.
Yeah. So, and I think, you know, pretty instantly it's like one's going to overshadow the other. And we know which one overshadowed which.
That was like that was from the start, and it hasn't changed. You know, as well. It really has.
It's like you think about it, it's like you had two little children come into your lives. One of them, golden child, roller coaster railways, like out the gate, like wee, like you skateboarding around the goddamn caves of Hoxie's, stuff like that. Like the cave generation is like pretty pleasant. It's a non-Molly mission, which is always interesting, like stuff like that.
Yeah, speaking of that, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think escort duty probably should have been a non-mule mission as well. But
realistically,
but not that they were ever going to take Doretta back. But I want to say some stuff about escort duty. Obviously, we're not going to do the whole shenanigan. We've got our fucking new attack, right? It got better with season 5, and yes, that will be something season 5 has, by the way, amongst the other things, amongst all the other things it has. But Escort Duty, in concept, they actually got a lot right about this. It's actually a pretty good example of an escort mission, and Doretta is a pretty... Aside from mechanics, Doretta is pretty awesome. The design and the sound design and the weight of that machine, the jankiness of when she starts flying, all that shit, it's great. And like I said, it's actually a pretty good example of an escort mission. It doesn't change the fact that a game like Deep Rock should not have an escort mission. Escort missions are universally hated, and so no matter how good it was in comparison to other escort missions, it was never going to get away with it truly, because it's in a game where you're going to have to play it dozens, if not hundreds of times, like over the course of the game's existence. You know?
You ever want to like deprive your players' ability to go where they want to go? Make an escort mission. That'll do it. They won't be going anywhere they want to go. They'll be stuck right where you want them to be.
This update would have been... It could have probably been better without it, genuinely.
Especially considering most of the patch notes following it were them trying to make the game mode playable and rewarding.
I think that is probably true, but I'm not gonna leave that unchecked.
Every single... I'm like sure that it was like constantly being adjusted. Like, do you remember there was the oil shale like life hack, I'm gonna call it, where if you like blew it up with a satchel charge, you could just hoover up the remains and it's like equal, if not more, value somehow. And so you could like really quickly fill up the fucking things and move on. And then they patched that out, and people were like, why? Like, that is just so much more miserable.
Okay, there's quite a bit of patch. Oh god, there's quite a lot. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, you're right. Oh my Jesus Christ, there's so many tech changes devoted to it. Oh my god. Okay.
It was a problem child from the get-go, and they never really nailed fixing it. They just gave up on it, let it I don't know, do a bunch of drugs and waste away while they moved on to the next child, which also had problems.
I mean, Roughnecks would really have been, because obviously at the time it was a pretty epic and sumptuous update to receive, just in general. It's like, oh my god, 2 new mission types, all of these new cosmetics to unlock, all this stuff. But obviously it's kind of looked back on now, when you take the individual elements, it's not like an amazing package. It's pretty lucky to be followed up by New Frontiers. Obviously, New Frontiers could almost make it look worse, but obviously I don't think Deep Rock players really work like that. We can't just move on to the next update, and when you look at the next update, it's a pretty substantial improvement. But placement, though.
This is a problem.
Yeah.
This is where we have to kind of reaffirm that this is our opinion. But I think the worst thing they ever added was Escort Duty, and that doesn't look good on this update. And the oil refinery, in hindsight, is also not that great. Like, once you got past the roller coaster thing, which took people a couple months, I mean, it's fine. But
I'm definitely not in the camp of loving it either. I think I like it.
The other one.
I think I like it more than you do, but I'm in that same camp. Like, as in, I probably like I think I like on-site refining more than you do, and I don't hate Escort Duty as much as you do. But I probably align with your opinions on them more than I do with the consensus, though. And they are most of what the update is.
Outside of that, there's really not much to talk about unless we went through all the cosmetics, which I assume most of them were pretty solid. Back then, they really were.
Yeah. Honestly, the main thing that's making me want to keep it in B is just the concept of me knowing that mission types are a fuckload of work. And that they put a lot into it, but that's what I mean about the cynical nature of this, is that we kind of have to push that aside. So, were you thinking C tier?
Yeah, definitely. But how long did this take as well? It's probably a question.
So the previous one was What Was Left Behind. So this was October 22nd, and it was June 10th. Oh, June 10th. The previous one, which is, of course,
that's like
about 4 months.
4 months. Fucking 2 game modes in 4 months.
I know, that's actually really good, isn't it? To be honest.
Yeah. I always forget. It's like because it gets further and further away. Like back when like season 1 and season 2 were coming out, we were like right there, remembering how quickly they used to come out. But
Good
now
God.
it's such a foreign concept. 2 game modes in 4 months, and then in the next 4 months,
We will
the
have it
fucking biome.
again. The sun will shine on
Meanwhile,
us
that is
again.
8 months for that, and then obviously the dreadnoughts and the enemies. Meanwhile, it took a year to get season 5. Like, and obviously season 5 is great, but compared to like basically all three of these, like those two updates, and probably like either one before or after, like it still doesn't beat that out in quantity.
We will have this again one day.
Uh,
There'll be a
yeah,
resurgence. Not for Deep Rock.
yeah,
But no. Okay. I think that's fair. Obviously, this is definitely one where we've got it's a concise enough selection where we can definitely review this at the end and possibly make some changes. Or at least I'll keep my eye on that, I think. But I don't disagree. I think it probably should be in C tier. I think saying it's relatively equal to season 3 is actually pretty accurate. So them being in the same tier certainly makes sense.
It really comes down to what the actual content was, the amount, the speed, the goal, all go solid. But you added escort duty. I'm having a fucking problem with you, update. It's a simple fact of the matter.
If you add escort duty, if any future updates want to add escort
I
duty,
cannot
season
count
5, for example,
how
added escort duty.
I cannot count how many times I have stopped playing the game of escort duty. If that isn't a bad thing, like realistically, what we should be putting in D. I mean, it is a D tier feature. I mean that much. Whenever we talk about game mode,
Yeah, we've done that recently.
Yeah, it is. If it wasn't for the fact, like, if it was just that game mode, they just added escort duty, that thing would be in fucking D so fucking quick. It would be funny. But yeah, for now, D. And I assume we're moving on.
We are moving on. I think that was fine. Oh, 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 uh, 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 okay, that's good. I don't mind that at all. I will not miss out on an opportunity to talk about season 2 Rival Escalation. Now, this is where things get fun, and I'll tell you why things get fun. Because my honest opinion, season 2 kind of fucks.
I think
season 2 is. I would say it's better. What I'm saying, season 2 fucks hard in retrospect. I like it more now than I did. I think
during the time when it was like, oh, we got rivals again, sad face emoji. Like that was kind of like during it was like, oh, this is like we wish something new, different. But having come out of Rockbox again, we had it good. Like rivals, like again, like that was more pleasant.
Yeah, season 2 wasn't like a huge list of things necessarily, but everything it added was either amazing or an improvement on previous things. For example, it didn't add like loads of new rival enemies, right? In fact, it added barely any. Basically one. But they were all great additions. The Nemesis is a really cool thing. More so now, in them being rarer, is actually an improvement. But the Nemesis is really cool. And they are engaging and fun. It's still weird that they're not technically a boss. I think like just in spirit they absolutely are, but the Nemesis is sick. Obviously it was our taste of getting sort of not what we expected as like the headline feature as far as like the season goes. Obviously, season 1 kind of set us up in a weird way because we got a mission type, so season 2 it being just a warning was kind of weird, but then you actually play it and you realize, oh, this might be one of the best warnings in the game, so can't be too upset. That turret controller is genuinely such a cool feature. Like the fact that the warning, obviously, it adds the random rival ambushes and stuff, but the fact that the main thing it adds is like a specific encounter placed within the cave, this turret controller, you don't even have to kill it, obviously, you don't have to take it down, but it's such a cool feature. Also, keep in mind, this update was a pretty quick turnaround for seasons. It came out just under 6 months after season 1.
Quickest season.
And it brought you know, them. The
Yeah,
dudes,
just
the
kind of
third
back to the
generation
product.
secondary weapons, aka when it comes to the times that they've added weapons, the 3 times so far, um, it's obviously the best one.
Yeah,
So
they really barely missed. Like when it comes to misses, you're coming down to like singular overclocks, not weapons. Like
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Um, the concepts are all just pretty perfect and well refined, and they all deliver very, very well. I mean, getting new weapons in that amount of time and how fleshed out they are as well. I mean, look, obviously you could bring up the fact that they added Gen 2 all in one update. Shut the fuck up, idiot. Even for now, with all the technical debt, this was quick. With all of the overclocks, all of the frameworks and paint jobs they had to include, all that stuff, and the fact that they were just more mechanically complex than Gen 2 and 1, of course, especially. They really knocked it out the park.
obviously
Like I said,
because
not a
fair
huge.
amount,
Yeah,
fair amount
actually,
of
go on.
it was done alongside the ones like the primaries, like figuring out what was going to be the primaries and secondaries. Like the time of that was put in season 1, so it was going to be quicker. Still, I mean,
I forgot
it's
what was
very difficult.
I forgot what the framework was for this season in the cosmetic tree.
Uh,
Oh no, it was builder's choice. Okay, I didn't think it. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, whatever. um,
that's right. But like, no, yeah, season 2. I mean, it. I mean, as you said, it just fucks. Like there isn't much, but you're kind of just the secondaries. This is the key problem, and it is a genuine problem. The weapons are unbeatable in
yes.
in like in content priority or like just like reason to play the game. I guess we'll put it as like a new weapon does more than literally any other addition could. Um, like in a ratio. Maybe if they added like 2 game modes, it might equal a single secondary. But even then,
Well, okay. I mean, I don't know why you said secondary specifically because I don't think there's a difference between secondaries and primaries either, as far as
not
impact.
really. It makes the point
Do you know
sound a
what's weird?
little
Do you know what
more
kind of
like
really sucks and I feel bad about? At the time, I thought there was. I was like, oh, secondaries aren't as lit as primaries.
because Harry, at the time, Gen 2 like and Gen 1 secondaries, that is kind of true, right?
Yeah, it
Those
is actually.
secondaries are secondaries, except for engineer because you know his thing. But like they were just kind of like simpler and slightly worse, generally, like stuff like that. Like, but then Gen 3 is like, nah, wave cooker, like giga fucking like combos, bloody
Pocket
crossbow,
railgun.
which is giga crossbow, like giga combo, but on its own,
I mean,
like it does it with
the
itself.
crossbow is almost S tiering. Well, the crossbow is like S tiering concept. Let's be honest, because that is like probably one of the most popular
Everyone
weapon
have been wanting
requests.
a crossbow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like give
yeah.
Scout a fucking crossbow right now, and like, all right, and then it was great.
The only Yeah, the only miss is like the shard diffractor
It's
on
not though.
before launch.
Oh yeah, before launch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would still agree it kind of is. But the point is, yeah, no, I mean, the the it's kind of just S tier.
It's
Like,
yeah. It's kind of it almost doesn't feel like it because I still remember not feeling like that amazing about it at the time. Even though it was still fun. Like I still remember one of the first missions we played in season 2 though, because it was one of the first times we encountered a random nemesis, or like one just spawned. I think that's what it was. I remember the mission too. It's an on-site refinery, and a nemesis just spawned, and we're like, this is just fucking. This is lit. This is sick. Like this is
yeah, I
actually
mean,
really
it's
cool. And
seriously pair fighting Nemesis to like the fucking caretaker, not caretaker, corruptor. Like that's kind of the like you know we had a good time with with the nemesis as opposed to, and it's like with all the secondaries. Honestly, genuinely, secondaries alone, it makes it very difficult to beat. But the fact that everything else was pretty good, um, And I feel like
Yeah.
it is more in hindsight, but fuck it, we are in hindsight. We're in the future now.
Yeah, so I
Like,
mean, it also he even did other like pretty great stuff. He added, I mean, okay, not super impactful for us, and honestly, I don't really know how impactful it's been in general because people don't really talk about it. But Phase Unite was an interesting surprise. um,
yeah, that was fun.
some other
I
small
like it
stuff
because it's
like
a
the
new thing.
choices on the Forge Mastery, where you get two choices now between dwarves and things like that. Some pretty good weapon balancing. I mean, it focused, not like really broad, but it hit two particular weapons quite hard. It
That's
turned the
what
Drac
it was.
into the A tier weapon it is now, and it turned the Sludge Pump into the S tier weapon that it is now. Um,
Yeah.
and that stuff should definitely be considered. Yeah. So yeah,
think it's just this too. Like, I don't know.
it's weird though because honestly,
It
the main
feels
thing
like
that I didn't like about it at the time was like, I was like, is this worth the wait? And at the time, it didn't feel like it, but it so obviously was. It really obviously was. It was actually like very good for the amount of time. Very
you
good.
didn't realize how you were eating, basically.
No, and I do
Like,
feel a bit. I feel a bit bad about it, like genuinely.
yeah. Because I mean, that was technically when we started spiraling, right?
Yeah,
During season 2, heading into 3, we were like, "This over. This game is over. It's going downhill." It's
and
now.
it did go downhill for a time.
Yeah.
And then it got back up to the top of the hill. And then just got sort of turned to a statue.
There's
Anyway,
like,
I want to jump ahead a bit to. I mean, I doubt we're going to get it next. We could get it next, but I just want to say, I don't know why I want to say this now, but season 2 is better than season 1. Just in case anyone's wondering. Like, I think we both believe that. as an update. So
yeah, I think it is also important to mention
just
that
face that.
during season 2 and 1, the industrial sabotage wasn't in assignments, so that makes it slightly more pleasant of a time.
Good one, Tyler.
So yeah,
All right, let's move on. I still don't feel like 100% sure about that, but I'm also like I don't have a good reason to move it down. You know? And I'm the one who started by saying it was like amazing.
I mean, I'm not really sure what would be an S tier if it wasn't that.
Well, I don't. There might not be anything else. We'll see. Okay. Okay. There you go, lads. Left Behind. What update 31? What was left behind? I want to see if you know exactly what this is. I mean, you can see some of what it was.
I do not even remember what it is.
Well, no, but you can see one of the things it was.
Warlock, the bestiary.
Oh, well, actually, yeah, it did. It did technically add the bestiary. That is actually true. So update 31. What was left behind? Came right after the 1.0 launch, actually. So 1.0 launch was May 2020. And this was June. So, you know, a pretty quick turnaround. And it added the Corlock, of course, the Corlock Tyrant Weed. It added the Miner's Manual Bestiary. It added some other things. It says biome updates. Oh, it had a lot of stuff that actually makes some of the biomes what they are now. Like the dense biomes specifically, all of that shit that is basically its main features, all the corals and stuff, was kind of added here for some reason. Okay, the miscellaneous stuff isn't too important. It added Smart Stout. That's great.
Fun.
And it also added 3 new secondary objectives. And that kind of makes this update look pretty good. We got the Corlock and 3 new secondary objectives. I think it was also less than a month after the 1.0 launch. This was 10th of June.
Yeah.
1.0 was... Okay, so about a month. Pretty much exactly a month, actually. Just... This is pretty ideal for me. I really like these kind of updates. And we basically got like 2 of these after 1.0. And this is one of them, obviously. But I really like them. They feel good. They pumped them out quickly, but they added very substantial content, even if it wasn't like a long list. Like those secondary objectives, they worked. Of course, they really worked, didn't they? Like Festivals are great. They added 3 more. 3 was a good number. And the Corlock is a presence, for sure. and for the speed at which they pump this thing out, I just find it very impressive and very very comforting. It's a very comforting little update, and I was just very pleased to get it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but the core look is the core look still controversial?
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah.
Our opinion, and the core looks pretty cool with us. But yeah, no, it's still like an A though, right? Like,
yeah, I think so. I think this is definitely an A. I don't think there's a single thing in here that was like a misstep. It was all just cool little features with one big fella slapped on top to just amp up the threat, the danger of going into the caves. Just nothing but pleasantries, I would say.
And probably realistically, just a little warm up before they hit with the 32-33 combo.
Yeah, it's just evocative also of just a really nice time as well. When we would get updates, like, even if they weren't massive, they were still frequent and impactful. So it just kind of just nice memories too. Update 31.
It was the goal, like, around that time. Maybe a bit earlier as well, for launch.
So the golden age was literally, I would say, from when they added like Gen 2 through to like season 1.
And that.
Basically.
Yeah.
Through to season 1 starting. Take that how you will, but the season era is obviously its own era, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not one we vibe with. Roll the die, let's see if we can talk about it.
The die.
Only like 2 more that isn't season.
Well, we've got one of them. It's kind of it's right between 2. Okay, there we go. Okay. There it is.
Oh
no! It's season 4, everyone. Say hello to season 4. We did this already on a podcast. We did this.
Yeah, well, this is like the part where we're like, oh no, season 4's actually not that bad, guys, or like something along those lines to like subvert expectations. But it kind of just is that bad, guys. Like, pretty fucking bad. Like,
it's I mean, I have like I still have conflicted thoughts on it from a personal level. As in, there's a couple things in here that I like. I thought that everyone agrees that weapon balancing was pretty great. But let's be honest, as far as like universal, like as far as consensus goes, that's kind of the only thing that everyone is like on board with about season 4.
He is. It's funny. People, I think, were more generally like positive about them improving / changing a couple overclocks than like people were when they added the weapons.
I know I said we weren't going to consider DLC, but we have to. I feel really bad because it's such but it's so specific because they had to patch the fucking DLC. I mean, what does that tell you? It was, and what that tells you, by the way, and I don't want to presume, but just based on just sort of, I would say loose. This is still not, this is speaking from a place of impressions that I've been given, impressions, not like actual confirmed information, but I don't think this was like a great time for Ghost Ship. I don't think either. I think it was a bit confusing for them. But that's obviously reflected in it being the worst update. I think that's kind of the dictation we have to make to be able to place this somewhere, is that horrible question. But that is the answer though, isn't it? It is the worst update the game's got.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Took like 8 months.
7.5, like definitively though. So probably just over 7.5.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't say the longest because I think the season 1 took a while, but like definitely up there, and definitely wasn't there as far as content goes. Just a bunch of scattered shot, like, a beer that no one uses, rocket boots, which while are cool, you very rarely find, and some people think are kind of bullshit when you do find them. Like, they made the rock pox unbearable until they fixed it at a later update, which technically we have to take it at Rockpock's value during, right? Like,
Yeah, we do.
can't give it the credit.
Strange thing about that is, for
because
me, I liked the Rockpox during season 4. I'm just gonna be honest. I liked all of the new ones, and I thought the contagion spikes were improved, but obviously, kind of fucked up that season 4 literally didn't have like an actual like highlight piece of content, like straight up. It technically did, but I would also say technically didn't at the same time, because it was like the Corruptor, but it's like, well, okay, sure, but that's the season event, so fuck you. That doesn't count, even if you think it counts. And obviously, Harold sucks. I think I accept that now. He's an asshole. I hate him.
Thing is, and I know relevant, but you could say the same thing to just in case someone comments this. You could say the same thing to season 2. That like there wasn't much. I mean, technically there was a warning, but clearly they were pushing the Nemesis more. But it comes down to the weapons, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Just in case, because I'm like looking at it and I'm like, like the things they're showing off on like all these photos. It's like, I mean, season 2 is just showing off the Nemesis, which isn't even an event.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and the event was well, obviously, you think it's trivial now, which it is kind of trivial now, but it was definitely it was good. I think the Comrade was definitely good at the time, even if it's become hilariously easy.
And the warning, like all technically, and then the secondaries.
Season 2 felt like it had a good reason to be a part 2. Season 4 did not excuse following up. The only reason it did is because the Rockbox needed it. As in, the Rivals didn't need season 2 in reality, but they got it, and it barely helped them. But it doesn't matter. But and the thing about Rockbox needed season 4, sure, but the game didn't need the Rockbox to be more.
or any of it.
Yeah.
I think if you want to hear long-winded, which is everything we do, explanation as to why this kind of fucking sucks. I think we did a podcast on it recently, right? Is it the most recent one?
It's not the most recent one. I think it's the second most recent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, someone's got to go there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Roll the die.
Got to make a statement, because nothing else is going there. Certainly not from what we have left. All right.
The thing is, and I think if you want to make the point, like, I'm so glad that everyone come together and said that season 4 fucking sucked, because it allowed season 5 to be good and fucking
we wouldn't have gotten it without that anyway.
Because I think we think season 3 also sucks, but not enough people said it, and then we got season 4. So
yeah, boom,
it's in there.
We left with a nice little sprinkling here. I'm gonna move this guy over here for some reason. Yeah, season 1, Rival Incursion, the first season. So let's get this out of the way. A fucking whopper, Is it still the biggest? I would say
9 months in the making, right?
Well, it was longer than that in the making of Raw, wasn't it?
I guess.
Like, if you've seen DRG Historian's video, what was in season 1 had technically been in the works for fucking ages. But from the last update, well, obviously, New Frontiers came out in February. This came out in November. But Modest Expectations, which is an update, came out in April, which was 2 months after the previous. So this is April to November, which is about the same amount of time from season 2 to 3. So that's the amount of time we're looking at between updates. But Modest Expectations is very small, so you can look at it as between New Frontiers and season 1.
And it was literally made to kind of fill the gap a little bit more, because they knew it was going to be a while.
It was the first maintenance update.
Pretty much.
But just objectively speaking, whatever we're going to say, season 1 was worth the wait. It was. It was more than enough content to justify that amount of time. And I do mean more in the literal sense, as in you probably could have, you not halved, but you could have taken away like a third of season 1, and it probably would have still been enough, to be honest. And so much of that is just the general concept and that massive shift, which obviously was cool at the time. The shift in direction towards seasons.
Season was, I mean, I had never played the game as regularly and for so long than when they added this season 1, going into like approaching the end of season 2. I think, right? I was playing pretty fucking consistently, which never did before, right? Back in before then, it was just kind of like play for like a couple weeks after they had an update. That's the general like thing. But that's why they added seasons, and it was such a fucking good idea, even though it had a consequence.
It wasn't a bad idea originally.
Well, I still don't think it was. It's just unfortunate. I think they got lost a little bit. But as a way of constantly adding cosmetics, fucking brilliant. As a way of keeping people playing, fucking brilliant. It worked. Like, just look at the Steam charts. Like, it's so fucking obvious that it worked. It like tripled the constant player numbers.
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't think I want to point out. I think season 1 genuinely benefited from the theming. I think there are definitely criticisms you can make of the rival content. There are criticisms I would probably agree with, and that includes for Industrial Sabotage itself as a mission. I mean, it's not great, but I think it was only elevated by the theme. I think the rivals are cool design wise and the sound design wise, and that kind of idea of this rival corporation, this very mysterious rival corporation, given that they're all fucking robots coming to Hogsmeade. It worked very well. I do not think that should be like, oh look, the rivals were bad. It's like, in some ways they were, but not the concept was brilliant. I think they're really cool, genuinely. So I don't want to be
not
like
all of them were bad. It's the patrol bots. To be honest,
it was mainly patrol bots.
Others went down like sacks of shit. I think they're exactly the right strength. Other stuff. I was gonna say the caretaker, but I think that's its own thing, right? The Industrial Sabotage game mode. I mean, I probably only played it like 5 to 10 times total during both of these seasons, 1 and 2.
Well, I think what I was trying to say though is that the caretaker is not brought down by being a robot. That's all I'm saying. You definitely can make criticism of it as a boss fight, but it's pretty fucking cool design wise and all that stuff. It works very well. If it was like a giant plant, that would still be kind of cool, but that wouldn't be wholly unexpected either. I think robots were a bit more of a surprise.
It was definitely a very good idea combined with bringing it into seasons, right? It was the big flash of pizzazz required. Because if it was like, like, oh, we're entering seasons and the main threat is like more Poxy's creatures, like, it wouldn't have hit as hard, it wouldn't have been as flashy. But a new rival tech.
It was quite the whiplash, and it is kind of surprising that it was more as mixed as it was, to be honest. I don't quite understand, like, because I think so much of it wasn't even like mechanical stuff, really. So much of it was just people almost not liking that they weren't bugs. And I went,
yeah, it was.
They're pretty cool, man. I like them.
There was obviously, I think our canonic reason is that they give very bad feedback, like shooting them. I think that's like subconsciously why people weren't a huge fan. There's also like build reasons, like people that used just the same build for everything, or didn't like, or wanted to use the cryo cannon or stuff like that, right? They didn't like that there's something that hard counters builds, really, because there wasn't that many things that did that previously. Like, I don't know, it changed a lot of like the base game and how it's played and how you build builds and how you think about going into a mission.
And it also added like, and Industrial Sabotage has come out like at this point as being not great, and it also season 1's season events, the two of them, there are two, also aren't great. One is much worse than the other, but they still weren't great either. So even though, like, I will stand by what I said, it sounds kind of stupid now, but the theming was not the problem, but also the rival content was still the worst stuff in the update though. It was still...
Yeah, considering there alongside all of that, there is the entire Gen 3 primary set.
Yes,
It
which
just like came out with it.
great. They are. I have been through a sort of evolving opinions on them, but I've come out to think I still think the smart rifle, it still has issues, definitively, but the other ones, good God. I mean, the Hurricane is the weirdest one for me, because that actually might be my favourite weapon in the game now. But
it has gone through a lot of changes from back then. I
yes,
think back then
has.
it was very odd, wasn't it? Like it was constantly getting its shit like
Yeah.
buffed and then nerfed because it kept breaking the game.
It also,
like,
I don't even want to. I don't. It's small, but I don't want to ignore this. It also introduced the concept of just, well, it started introducing more stuff that is different ways of doing things in missions and things. Like it added the hacking, which I think was genuinely a precursor to more hacking, first of all, and that includes the jet boots, but also even things like the cleaning tools. I thought the hacking stuff was pretty neat, and that was obviously expanded upon in season 2 as well. But yeah, I mean, it's still not like nothing is as big. Nothing is literally as big of a list of new stuff as you might expect, but it doesn't change it. Like you've got the introduction of seasons, you've got a new faction of enemies, you've got a massive new mission type, you've got a new set of weapons, and that's all you need. Well, and of course the events.
Well, it wasn't, of course, back then though. Really, was it? Like that was the first time we had gotten
more
season
loadout
events.
slots.
Yeah, babe. Well, I can't believe it didn't add more loadout slots.
Oh God!
I completely forgot that. All right. Well, no. At least they did add it then because they fucking knew when you add a bunch of new like gun stuff, you need to add more things to let people use them. Unlike that thing now, they seem to have forgotten that. But the point is, I mean,
BRA.
if the rivals weren't kind of shit dicks, like they're not really anymore though, right? Obviously, like once season 2 ended, they nerfed the shit out of most of them, so then they became like pussy ass bitches, which made them a lot more tolerable, and with that, but back then they weren't, which I think is that an argument? I realize, are we trying to like talk about the experience of during, or
we've done both, haven't we? We definitely did both for season 2, and it still ended up in
yeah.
And season 1 was a combination of like sort of realizing some of it wasn't super fun to play against, but still being overwhelmed by like just the magnitude of the concept and all of these things. I think it's panned out to being just a really interesting period, and I think weapons will almost always be an S tier addition. But maybe season 1 pans out being to be high B.
No, I think it's got to be an S.
S.
It's just like
no. Sorry, no, not S. I can't.
What?
I can't do that. I can't do it.
What do you mean you can't do that? Do you own eyes? Do you own a heart? Like it adds all of the primaries. I mean, sure, one of the events not great, but it's optional at the end of the day. Like game mode, which isn't that bad. It's still flawed. I mean, I guess maybe yes is too high, but like it's just the weapons. They're fucking overwhelming and how valuable they are. Like how much worse off the game would be if we didn't get the primaries. Getting only secondaries quite weird, but like
okay,
like if you were to delete like season 1 as an update, like everything it added from the game, how fucking worse off everything would be. Like I feel like a thing like that can't be a B, right? It's like
okay. I mean, yeah, I'm fighting. Look at this shape we've got here. I am defying S. I think that's quite excessive, for how imperfect season 1 is. But I think also, I think size matters. It's just I'd started to. This wasn't going into it either, so I'm very happy to change this. But I was starting to develop an idea of how this would look at the end in terms of the hierarchy of seasons. But That's kind of been shattered now. Oh well.
Yeah, because you wanted that in B and then thingy in A.
Maybe.
But like, it's just. I mean, for some reason, gutturally, the primaries don't seem to hit as hard as the secondaries. But it's only because the primaries, even though guns are so fucking important, they actually almost get buried by the sheer amount of everything else. Dude, like, season content was added in season 1. Like, the pass full of cosmetics, the tree full of cosmetics. Like, you just can't. It's just much to not give it some damn fucking respect. Like, yeah, some of the rivals sucked a little bit sometimes, but it's just too much.
I'm very
Too much of it
surprised
is
by
too good.
this stance. I don't. I'm not saying it's surprising. I'm just surprised that you have it. I'm just. But
Well, I don't know. I like the worst thing you can say
okay.
about it
Do you know
now.
what? Do you know what? I might
In
have to do
hindsight,
something. I might have to do something to make this work for me because do you know what I think? I think it's actually. I think size is clearly a factor here, or size, or just overall feeling. And as perfect as this little fella is, I think these two being side by side, I find very disconcerting. I find um, so I
it's
kind of want to.
size and time spent, man. It's like they spent like a month on a cool enemy, a cool couple
What I'm saying is,
side
I
things.
kind of wouldn't mind moving it down. This one.
I know, which I think is not really fair because I think
Okay.
it is a good thing to aim for. I think if you take a very little amount of time, update 31 is ideal. If you take a lot of time, and you want to fucking revolutionize the game as a whole, I think season 1 is an ideal, right? Like, and then I don't know, fucking going 1.0 is just a bit of fun. It's nice, pleasant time. And then 33 is probably an ideal average update that takes about half in between the two. Like, I don't know, I think they're good, like all of them, for what they are, how long is spent on them. Um, they all add up, really, I think. Uh, Meanwhile, some of the other ones, it's like, the lower you get, the more question how worth the time it was, right? Do you think season 1 was a waste of time?
I think I Ghost Ship. Listen to me. You fucked up with what you did with industrial sabotage. Not the changes made to the mission type itself, mechanically. The other thing. I'm thinking about what season 1 was like to actually play. I don't think I really had an issue with it. And I think
No.
industrial sabotage really benefited from. But the prospect of data deposit fucking sucks, Tyler.
Yeah, but it is very optional.
It's very optional.
Then I guess it kind of wasn't, but back then we didn't seem to have a problem with it.
But you can
But
see imperfections
he's by no
where
means
season 2
perfect.
doesn't have those imperfections.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think that
nice
is a
and
result of scale as well, though. I think that is a result of the size of season 1. They scaled it down a bit season 2, and it's just tighter. But I think that matters. I think season 1 and update 33 are pretty comparable. I think that year is pretty uniform. In that everything was great, and that's kind of it.
we're adding the right stuff at the right speed, and then eventually they weren't doing that.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah,
S
I don't
tier
know.
stuff sort of lies outside of that kind of thing. I don't know. Actually, we'll see because like I said, I don't even know what else is going to. Let's leave it in A tier for now. Okay, I'm not saying we won't. We might change it. We might, but we got to get on. We've got 3 more. Which one's that? Once again, it's like right between 2. Okay, all right. It is going to be the one I just mentioned, the one in between. What is expectations? Actually, I know what I just said, but actually, I realized it's probably not Probably not going to be an A2 actually, and we'll talk about why. Because Mod Expectations really is a maintenance update. In spirit, it's kind of the proto one. It was sandwiched, well, it's not sandwiched, but it came out between New Frontiers and Season 1 to fill the gap with some interesting stuff that they thought would just substantiate and expand the game. Sort of, cheap tricks, but they worked. The biggest one is, of course, double warnings. I mean, come on. That's pretty fucking... That's a get. Yep. That's something that was very good to happen. So that is definitely the biggest thing. So, and of course, what else I did was
well,
it wasn't meant to be the biggest thing. It wasn't.
Oh, yeah, but it isn't still. Like, for us, sure, it is. But let's not fucking kill ourselves, Harry. The mod, in Modest Expectations...
Well, I'm going to have to stop you there, because there's actually nothing in this update is actually about mods. They basically, what they did, it all got severed from the update itself and put into a non-numbered update that came after it, which was just mod stuff, which isn't here.
Is it not, though, like a patch coming after this update? Would it not be considered that if it's not numbered?
It isn't numbered, but it's still its own update for some reason. It's called Steam Update Modding Support, and it is exclusively modding related changes, except for the new Stabbervi and Killcry. I
think wasn't it they were intending to get modding out on this update?
Yes, they were. That is why it's called this. That is why it's called Mod Expectations. They just had to sever it. But honestly, it added elite enemies. It added Swarmageddon and Elite Threat. Yeah. Hold on, I'll get to that. It added Swarmageddon and Elite Threat, double warnings, couple other things, quite a bit of weapon balancing, which we'll just assume is all good. Like, a lot, actually. Good lord. And that's it. But it came out 2 months after New Frontiers, and obviously added double warnings, which was awesome. Just a really awesome feature. But yeah, elite enemies were such a cool idea, and they fumbled it.
They got scared. They really did. Like, I don't know why, or I guess they didn't want to go too hard or something. But yeah, because I don't think they ever elaborated. Right? They just said that it's their biggest regret. Like,
someone did. I wouldn't say them. Someone from Ghost Ship said that.
I think it's like Marvin Anders or someone on the streaming team. I think it was, or Mickle might have been on the dev stream, but yeah, I think they had higher hopes than what it is. And to be honest, it's not that big of a loss, because they probably had a bigger picture in their head than anything we ever even saw. So we don't know what we missed out on. Because for now, it's just a pretty solid.
Elite Threat is actually a very good warning, but I still feel some like regret from that, or sort of like longing, because I think we would, if elite enemies had remained what they were, I think we would have got like elite Stingtails. I guess people probably don't want that, but I think we would have got elite Stingtails and Spreaders.
Wrong? Like, didn't it in the beta branch? Didn't it go live with the way that it was like the higher the hazard, the more they will appear, starting from hazard 3?
I don't know if
it was it live more... with that, and then players were like, "No, we don't like that."
I don't know if it was more as you went up, but I do think. Well, no, I know that it was like hazard 3 plus only. I know that. I don't know if it made them more frequent as much as like there are just more enemies the higher you go, obviously. And I mean, okay, because you're right. Actually, in a vacuum, it's a very nice warning, but they doesn't change the sin of removing the elite oppressor. Elite enemies are sick. I love them all, like, genuinely. Some of them are kind of fucky. Like, it's kind of weird that the Praetorian is seemingly more frail than a normal Praetorian, but it's also they've all got cool quirks. Like the Praetorian, even like with its impenetrable armor, cool quirk. The guard, the way it can push you around. The grabber, just being fucking whatever they are, kidnappers. I love them. Even the Macteras, which
Well,
are honestly annoying as hell, like an elite Mactera, because of the way they move, and the fact that they basically attack instantly after stopping. So you're tracking them, you're trying to hit them, you cannot hit them while they're moving, but as soon as they stop moving, they will shoot you before you can shoot them. I still think that they've all got sort of gimmicks that I think are kind of cool. And which is why I don't think they should have cut any of them, and why I still think there's potential for them. I genuinely think Hazard 5 Plus deserves some kind of involvement, like elite enemy frequency, which I suggested. I don't know where I suggested it, but I suggested it somehow, and someone responded, a dev, and said it was a cool idea. So, I think that genuinely should happen. So they still represent a really cool idea that was fumbled, but is still, still a good thing that was added.
I mean, I think if we were to just I think that's probably put that on like a what we would hope to see from season 6 list, because I feel like that's the kind of going back and improving that I think we're looking for.
It's kind of that's a long way off, but we'll do that at some point. Like basically just our list, or just our perfect season 6, obviously, and one of them will definitely be some. One of them for me is going to be like more like factors for Hazard 5 Plus. Like something I really want to see. So yeah, for sure. But this update in itself, and so yeah, like I said, elite enemies are a fumble, but I still like everything this update did. I don't know where that sits for me though. I don't think it's A tier actually. For some reason, I was thinking that, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's slightly longer than what's left behind, but it's got slightly more. Yeah, some of it is a bit disappointing. Some of it, I mean, as much as we love double warnings, or much as you love double warnings, probably more specific, I'm fine with them. But they're pretty hard, as in that's like, high tier player only content.
Yeah, they're quite inaccessible. Like they're more inaccessible than Hazard 5 Plus, because they're more specific. Like, who the hell doesn't want to just throw on some more enemies, But double warnings is a bigger ask.
It's actually you can do double warnings and Hazard 1. You can't do Hazard 5 Plus on Hazard 1.
What are you saying?
Yeah. But still, no, it is still like a wall of difficulty that most people probably don't even bother with. It's only like sick fucks that like a challenge, or now I'd have to do it for scripts, but that's in hindsight. Or not hindsight.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, but I think it kind of went under most people's radar, and it's probably the reason why we don't get like random, like small but like tangible content updates, right? It's the reason why you don't just get a random update in the middle of whenever that adds like a single warning, even though it'd be like really easy to do, but it's still so pointless because I think people I do think this didn't have much of an impact on the majority of the player base as well,
Yeah, no, but it was just like a little something. But then, like, if you were to attach the mods to it, it definitely did.
Yeah, I suppose so. Also, a bunch of good weapon matching too. I have mostly positive feelings.
Like, are we supposed to ignore the mod update then? Like, if it's its own update, it should be on here.
We can't rank it though. It has no bearing on us.
Oh.
We would just end up putting it in B. And also, the mod situation now is too complicated for me to really perceive what the impact was of that update.
Yeah, there's like politics now that somehow, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a universal update. It was literally Steam exclusive anyway, so I don't feel weird about it not being here.
Right. But let's say lump it in there or not is probably still going to be in B. What are the expectations?
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. It's definitely it shouldn't be in the lower tiers, but it's also not like an exceptional thing.
It's a fine update.
Perfectly fine. All right, we've got 2 left. Do you want to flip a coin? Or
no, let's do the maintenance update.
Oh, okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, you're right. Well, it'd be kind of a real wet fart to finish on that. Not that I don't like it. So this is maintenance update November, the first one. Okay, what I will say about this right out the gate, it's the November update was bolstered by the time, by the context. It was actually enhanced by it. coming out after the
It
Road
was
Core announcement. And I will say, it really sucks that the Road Core announcement was not a positive. The announcement was not a positive thing for most the community, really.
Yeah, well, it's their fault.
I didn't say that. I didn't say it wasn't their fault. You can say that, but it's still a shame.
I will
It's still
not feel bad about their mistake, right? They debated the entire community. Like whether they I don't think they thought about it, but they fucking should have. That everyone was expecting season 5 like soon, and an announcement Deep Rock related. And they proceeded to say, "Oh, season 5 is delayed for a game you won't get for another 2 years." Like, I don't know what they were going through their fucking head, but they shouldn't have been coy about it on the thing. But the point is the maintenance update. This was soon after that. Road Core is worth bringing up because I think this is directly responsible for the delays to Road Core,
and vice versa.
Which is like
Road Core is responsible for this thing existing, these updates existing.
That is true.
It's not. It's not. As in, it's not responsible for season 5 existing. It's partially responsible for season 5 being the way it was. But the maintenance updates wouldn't have happened without Road Core. So say what you will about that. But the November one, at the very least, it's all good. It's all good.
I mean, it kind of had to be.
But it definitely had to be for sure.
I mean, they had to win back favor somehow. Like they were burning bridges left, right, and center.
It really was a nice surprise that unified people. It brought the season toggle, which was definitely the season toggle. I feel kind of awkward about now, because season 5 has literally replaced. It did get replaced. It's not a thing anymore. So that does feel kind of weird. That does feel.
It wasn't replaced. It was improved. Replaced
by an improvement.
I would assume the same system and improved it to where you could switch between all the seasons.
So it definitely I think through that lens actually it doesn't see it's not a waste of time. And of course it made a bunch of other changes that were like permanent changes, obviously to the Rockbox content itself anyway. Like even if you had season 4 still active, the other enemies, specifically the Stingtail, but it still added the best change they did to the spreader, shooting the projectiles down. In Stingtail, it added not the most broad, but still a lot of really good weapon balancing. It did a lot for the stubby and the coil gun especially. I like how they framed it like beforehand. They said, "Oh, the stubby's going to get an overhaul in this update." They didn't mention the fact that the coil gun arguably got more of one, more of a makeover before the update came out, and then it did. And I read the patch notes. It was like, I think they reworked the coil gun. So that was interesting. And then of course,
it's a bit weird.
The other thing, which was the weapon maintenance system, which is really cool and was a really, really nice surprise at the time. I have to give it that. It was such a cool thing to see.
Considering it was like a fan thing, right? Like, I think specifically like Axis Chronos, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, we needed them to know that they were listening and that they knew what we wanted, and then they basically did that. With even just that one move, let alone everything else. The turning off for season 4 was also a good shout. But, I don't know. It was very, very good.
It came out. It wasn't like even like it wasn't too long after season 4. It was a while. It was longer than normal, right? Because obviously Road Core is sort of started. They actually started making it as a game at this point.
Maybe just before when we would have normally expected season 5, right? Or about then.
It was the same
November, so
it was the same time. At the same time, remember, season 4 was later in that year that you would have expected. Season 4 was June, so it was 4 months, really, which is a while for what the November update was. But with the context, it was still a nice turnaround for what it was as well. It was like, oh, this is actually. I'm happy about this, It was nice to even get. It was weird. It even had like a trailer, which was actually nice. I don't know though, because obviously, at least to be obviously, obviously, but not higher. Even though I think it's definitively better than the February one, though. That's the thing. But you also mentioned earlier that it's also definitively more internally impactful. as in more
I
of a
think
knock-on effect.
like this November update is probably like realistically, if you try and figure it out, like because of how big it is and how like substantial it kind of sitting there, it's like how much could they really have done in roll call during all that time,
Yeah,
right?
this is why. Well, this is why
Like
you have to assume, because obviously, to an extent, we kind of know that these updates are the reason for the delay. We kind of know that. So when you think about what was going on there, you kind of have to think, man, these updates, they probably meant they basically did nothing on roll call from when they
if they
announced
launch,
from when they announced these updates up to when they were done with the February one, and then they moved straight on to season 5. You know?
yeah, they launched season 4, then they went on their month holiday. They got back, and then like it's like 2 months maybe, and then they probably started working on the November update. And then November update like leads into December, which they then go on another break and like worked on the Christmas stuff. Um, and like it's just and it just doesn't work out. And then obviously February, like it leaves so little time that it doesn't make much sense. And then it did make sense because they had to delay it by like half a year because they were half a year behind fucking schedule. So I don't know. It's it feels like you shouldn't put it in consideration, but
It's hard not to though.
like
You know, it's
yeah,
hard to
it's like
feel. It's hard to shake the
it's just
feelings.
kind of like if we want or we want like Ghost Ship to see this and be like these are our ideal updates, aim for these kind of things. Maintenance update content wise is pretty ideal, but like context wise is pretty bad.
Yeah, the maintenance updates
Like
were supposed to be updates that they could make while roll call was still the main focus, and the fact that that clearly
so we
wasn't the
would get
case
this
is really
is
damaging. It
yeah,
really damages the way I feel about the maintenance updates.
basically just like a shoddy season. Like, it obviously isn't, but like it basically just worked on it like a regular update. Is then it's
Yeah,
like why
yeah. I mean,
kind of like
out of context, obviously
it's
they're kind
still
of
so
perfect
nice.
because the maintenance updates, both of them, aside from sort of just the anomaly that is the prop hunt here, they are basically just them going down the list of things that they can do that people want, right, on a sort
Yeah,
of
like
technical
it's
level.
them just improving the game as a whole, but like I don't know.
But that's the thing that that's also season 5 though. Season 5 is a season that does nothing but add what people want.
I think we need to leave it in B. I don't think it can go any higher.
No, I don't either.
It's definitely never going to go lower, but
No, it's not going to go low either. No, November one definitely not. The February one I could move it down, but um, November I think is a pretty squarely B tier update. B tier in the good sense though.
yeah,
There we go. There it is.
season 5. I can't believe we made a season worse than season 4.
Oh my god. It's
Another
so terrible.
controversial take. No, it's fucking fantastic.
It is, isn't it? Like, it actually is. I mean, it seemed like that beforehand. I remember like thinking we both, for some reason, huffing at each other's farts, which we don't do. But we were around season 4. When before season 4 came out, we were like, it's not that bad, guys. Come on. Foolish. But season 5, we had those exact same thoughts, but obviously better, as in like, wow, this looks perfect. And it basically was. I think season 5 is an example of making every right decision. I think the decision making, though, and it's going to be kind of weird, I think the decision making was a tiny bit better than the over execution, though. Weirdly enough, I want to say that. I think there is a small rushed element to season 5. Slightly.
Definitely.
To everything except from the mission type. To everything. Because I want to talk about Deep Scan now. I was just playing it last. I saw someone recently comment on the mission types tier list, and I think they were shitting all over Deep Scan, I believe. I saw that recently. I literally can't stand it. I've played a couple, I think, in recent memory, and I was like, this might be the best one, actually, and that's crazy.
I think I don't know how regularly like SNIS does like posts, but I assume normally he does them when he's like prodding for a video. But he asked like people about uh this. And it seems like generally people are like, yeah, it's good. Not everyone was like, yeah, it's fucking incredible. Like it's just generally positive, but not overwhelmingly. But I think that's about fair because it does have a like the drill down bit is the worst part. It kind of is.
But
it
it's still like
falls
it's still
into
better than other things like that in the game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's like B tier experience.
But I just
part
think
of
it was
like
the weirdest thing because obviously season 5 brought so much stuff that was needed and it all worked out well. I think even the overclocks, I think, are more mixed than they probably. It would be better if they were not as mixed as they are, in my opinion. But that still worked out very well. But I think before it came out, I think we were looking at what was coming and thinking that the mission type was actually going to sort of be not an afterthought, but was going to be almost overshadowed by the amount of other stuff, just in terms of sheer frequency. But I think it's panned out that the mission type is, well, first of all, the best thing, actually. I think it's the best thing in Season 5. And the most notable because it's a mission type that happened to be the best thing in the update. I think it. But that's a good thing. Right, this isn't like a weird thing to like, oh, the rest of season 5 is bad. It's like, no, it's just a very good thing that they added a mission type and it's one of the best in the game. It's like top 3, like objectively, you know. It's easily better than all the ones they added since launch. And the ones they added since launch, by the way, are obviously the 3 we talked about today, but also Salvage Op, so it's definitely better than that. Like it's with the classics, isn't it? I think. In terms of quality.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's like a classic. It feels like a classic with everything that they've like evolved with since, right? Like the giant drill part, the scanning like through walls. So I don't know. It just feels like a like a remaster of a classic game mode, basically. like, yeah.
Well, it feels like a remaster of like a middle road game type. It feels like a perfection of the kind of stuff they were trying to do. It feels like a perfection slash. It's like a combination slash perfection of the old and new kinds of mission types. Though that's literally what it is. Because I still hold by my theory that the first half of Deep Scan was all it was going to be up to a certain point, and that they added the Drillivator because they had this low hum of a feeling that it might be the last mission type they had. So I believe that. I still hold to that. I think that's true. Genuinely, but
it's going to be a long time until we get another game mode. I think that's something we can confidently say.
Yeah. I don't even know when. And obviously, on the season 6 added one, but I don't see why it would. Unless they do the thing that they clearly want to do, which is. Yeah, I won't talk about that now, actually. I won't talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you look at everything else in season 5, and there is not only is there not a single miss. I think that's important because it's not all like incredible, but I wouldn't say there's a single miss. There's not only is there not a single misstep, but there's also so much, and none of it is bad. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't like the phrase none of it's bad, but it's all good and there's a lot of it. It is genuinely an insane amount of quantity. Like, yeah.
The worst part about it is that it took a year, even though it definitely isn't a year's worth of work. That's the worst part. And it's entirely out of its own hands and isn't that bad because there is no maintenance updates. Say what you will about them.
Yeah, if you technically look at it from the last update to season 5, that in a very ignorant vacuum is insane. Like from February to June for this. But obviously that's not quite right. But
we know it's from it's from right? Like the maintenance update from February is probably when they started.
Yeah, but obviously things like a lot of the overclocks had been prototyped for a while, and obviously mission types too. So the biggest things were kind of in the works, and also I guess we know that they were doing some work on Road Core because they were making the crawler, but obviously that ended up in here, which was also
And some sort of mission, right? That was in a below
big
decks.
surprise. Yeah, so obviously we got a new mission type, which was great. We got new overclocks, which are good overall. It's great to get some, I'll say that much. New enemies, specifically some new stationary enemies. I think the enemies panned out to being quite good addition as well. New secondary objectives, new warnings, and new anomalies. Fucking infinite promotions.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, do you know what else I forget? Even though we talked about it today, every time we talk about Season 5 and how good it is, I always forget about Hazard 5 Plus. And how amazing of an idea it was. And how... I mean, I can't even fault it. Because, like, I'll say that I don't engage with it. Okay, I know. Alright, I don't engage with Hazard 5 Plus, like, as much as I think I should, apart from more enemies, but that doesn't mean I don't think it's an amazing idea. Like, it's very valid to be there. Even though I don't really like making the enemies... tougher and things like that. But that is definitely a useful thing to have.
I don't think it makes it tougher enough for them. But still, it's
such an incredible idea.
Freedom.
Yeah. What else was there? Because there was more. So many fucking... Now, okay, there's kind of too many, but they added so many cosmetics. It's actually absurd. It's actually absurd.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's the most cosmetics a single update's added, I think. Like, probably more than when they first added overclocks. And they're for all the cosmetic ones, Matrix cores. I think way more than even that. Like, there's genuinely so many. It's like, was there 3? No, 2 frameworks, but obviously not from a DLC. But obviously one of them's just dice. But either way, you get that as well. A pretty good framework, by the way. Actually, the main one at least compared to the previous seasons. Technically, you get new armor, although that's kind of not. There are new cave shapes. The new Omoran attack, which it did improve it, didn't it? It did. Yeah. It did improve escort duty. It didn't save it.
Not for people who can't brain.
Yeah,
I think they probably don't like it as much, but generally, yeah.
Season selection.
Season selection, yeah, that's gonna be like not sure how much people are using it, but no, dude, they like we mentioned like season 1 that was like just an immense amount of content, in a fairly long amount of time, but that was there. But this is just, I guess the number of substance in each category is lacking. Generally, it's not bad, but like only one overclock per primary.
I think the overclocks are the weakest big thing in season 5, to be honest. Yeah. Which is like I think some of them are great. I think it's really cool that conductive thermals has evolved into being like a weird, like obtuse thing, into being like a really respected, just mechanical like box of tricks, basically. I think that's kind of cool, and some of them are quite good, like mortar rounds, for example. But yeah, it's still kind of weird. But and you're not wrong, but it's just the breadth of it though. Like I think the warnings, for example, have gone down really well. Duck and cover is so surprising to me that I like duck and cover, but I do. And blood sugar, which is like a kind of crazy thing. Like blood sugar, like really changes. It's like really extreme, what blood sugar does, because it's almost easy, despite it's like you're dying all the time, but it's also like overpowered. It's also you can't die either. You can't die. It's weird. Like genuinely, it was a good first impression that the first time we played Blood Sugar though was also Stormageddon, but that's a really great combo. I love that there are fun warning anomaly combos. It even did stuff like with daily challenges. Like it actually added like fucking double warnings as a daily challenge to get script. Like what? Fuck yeah. That's kind of really tedious though, because that's how you have to get all the cosmetic tree stuff, but it's still great. Oh god.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's still tainted by the insane wait, like for future content, and then obviously Roco and things like that. But that does not stop it from being. I don't see how you could have made better decisions as to what should be in a season. Like, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
With the limited time and resources, like they're like, all right, we got like I don't know, a couple months. We need to get out of season 5. It's going to be the only thing we have for like the next year minimum. What do? They made the right calls.
Yep.
Just generally rule of thumb. But the only problem that I could even say is that maybe I wish there was a biome as well. If they could have
That's crazy,
somehow
though.
done that.
That's kind of wild.
It feels like it shouldn't be though, because I feel like they've been brewing a fucking biome for like the last ever. Like I feel like they should have a biome at the tip of their tongue with how long it's been.
I mean,
But,
genuinely, I
I
think
guess
the
they
community would not even have. I genuinely think the community would embrace it if they just fucking ran the shallow grotto, the tutorial biome through the ringer and just made it full. It's a weird like Frankenstein of other biomes. That's true, but I genuinely still think it would have been embraced. Like it's not like a full biome really, but I still think it would have worked. I still think it would.
It also would have made sense considering that's basically where the profile picture of the season is set. Like
It definitely looks
in
like
the
it, doesn't it?
ground. Yeah. Either way.
Yeah, I think it would. I don't know why we were like, because we were both expecting to not put it in S necessarily. What does that?
I wasn't expecting it, mate.
Well,
I
I
can
mean,
barely think about what we're doing at the moment. I don't think ahead.
well, apparently I wasn't thinking of putting it in S, and I don't know why. I don't know. It's so stupid. But this looks more right now. Do you now feel a bit more okay with season 1 not being in S? Because
Yeah, well,
I
no,
do.
I was kind of fine with it, right? Yeah, it's not flawless. Not that I think who the top two are. There is a fatal flaw in both of them. Like,
Wait, hold on.
season
Then
2
what
is
season was?
kind
Yeah,
of
was season 2's fatal flaw?
season 2 is kind of sourceless. In all fairness, like it is just rivals again. Let's be honest. Like, I mean, sure, the Nemesis is cool, and the secondary, they're like the actual in the game, it's fine, it's fire. But outside the game, it's kind of like you went rivals again. That doesn't bode well. Right? There was those feelings, stuff like that.
Oh, I will say,
But
just a quick thing for season
hello,
4. Season 4 probably added the best ambient track, Journey to Prospector. But that's only because I was thinking about the course
it's so good. It
stone
plays it
music.
over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem. But yeah, well, season 2 is sources when it kind of shouldn't been, and then season 5 is almost we expected it to be sourceless, and it actually
Season
wasn't.
5 is like saying, "Hey guys, I'm sourceless. I don't have anything of value. I'm just here moving by." You're like, "What the fuck are you on about? You're
And
the most
that
handsome thing I've
made
ever
it,
seen in my
yeah,
entire life."
yes, because that made it cool. But then again, it still has source. Like Deep Scan has the source. I think the Drill-Evator, I think the Drill-Evator does. Like especially the freefall. I love that shit. Like I love the freefall stuff. And then the core stone. The core stone is a bit weird. It's probably a bit too hard, but it also has the source. The
I
effects,
feel like
the
with
effects
the core
involved, like the
stone,
visual effects and the music. They added a track. I know that song is for row core, but still, they added a piece of music for a thing.
like if not road core, if core stone's difficulty is like indicative of road core, I think it will really work out. Like, like if it sounds
Training
like
us, yeah.
it's using its enemy and its stone, and then it's like its difficulty level is on a different level as well. I think that would be pretty funny. Like, yeah. I don't know. I think it's just all around fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant.
Yeah, and I think this looks pretty good as well. I think it looks right. I do wish there was part of me wishes there was an update, like a normal update in S tier, and I was like, oh, maybe the 1.01, but then again, that's not even really like a normal update anyway. Not even.
No.
Obviously, there's not that many normal updates here. It's like 4. There's only 4 numbered ones. There's only 4. Or traditionally numbered ones. But yeah. Okay. I think this went quite well. I think I mean I didn't expect it to be like pessimistic. And it wasn't. And it was pretty much just as complimentary as I wanted it to be. And I think it feels really I like having season 4 at the bottom and season 5 at the top. I like that. I think that feels.
It tells
that's
a
natural.
story.
Yeah,
And the story is of facts. Yeah.
but genuinely, everyone, tell us what you think as well. for a lot of reasons. First of all, I definitely want to be able to have conversation with people in the comments, which I don't think we do enough. But also, I still probably want to do a tier list, like basically feedback video at some point, which would be like a collective thing. I'd still kind of want to do that. We'll see. What I definitely don't want to do though is the other part of this, which would be pre 1.0 updates. You already knew that, but the reason why we decided against that is because
it's like, how the fuck do you rate them adding the Molly versus them adding Bosco? How do you rate like stuff like that? Right?
Well,
like,
okay, not all of them are that
fundamental core parts of the game. How the fuck are you supposed to put that?
Exactly, and and also when you get into the later ones, it's still too big. It's just like I don't know how to rate the update that added the Gen 2 secondaries compared to the update that added overclocks. Really, I don't think I can do that.
It's different. Genuinely, it feels like all of them are S tier. It actually feels like you're sitting there like everything because they would add like an absurdly short amount of time as well. Like most of those things, if they were here, which obviously they wouldn't be because after 1.0, but if it was just all updates, they would be taking up the S slots. Like most of those fucking updates.
Yeah, and there's also the other thing as well. A lot of them, I think, not most of them, but enough of them are before we started playing. For it to be like we're gonna have to like look at them and like decide, like that's not good. We actually have opinions on all of these updates that were formed while we were actually adults. Some of them, well, okay, we were technically in the UK. We were technically adults when we. No, we weren't adults when we started playing.
Oh,
I don't know. If anyone
no,
cares, I am. If anyone cares, we are both
like
21 years of age. We're not children. Okay.
Actually, no, speak for yourself. Won't be long though.
Won't be long. Won't be long until you're 59. Anyway, that I want to. I don't know why I want to bring that thing I was saying earlier about
59 years old.
About season
still
6.
Waiting for season 6.
Yep, that thing that that thing that they clearly want to do though, which is if you just look at the dev Q&A, they clearly want to add a new dreadnought. And I'm just thinking like, well, how do you add a new dreadnought if it's not like the dreadnought? You know, there's no reason to add a generic one. And
mother,
yes, the broodmother, the glyphid broodmother, yeah, obviously, or the glyphid matriarch, or whatever it would be. But then that's because we were talking about mission types at the time, and like whether or not season 6 if they would ever add a new mission type. And I thought, well, the only reason they would is because I don't see how else you would implement a glyphid queen, aside from its own mission type, to be honest. But then again,
I'm going to really like this idea, Harry. And that's the simple fact of the matter. I would have it so when you break in a cocoon in elimination, it rolls the dice on like being whichever of the 3 it is, right? But I think that there is like, let's say, a 1 in 10 chance when breaking the first cocoon that all of the cocoons break and the broodmother spawns. And so that's like a mix up every so often doing elimination. You don't like it?
No, I do. I actually really like that idea.
I knew you would. That's why I called it.
Oh, well done.
But, yeah. Not like that. Because honestly, elimination is actually one of the best variations, if you know what I mean.
Even though it's only 2.
It has the most variables.
But yeah, exactly. There's only 2 different forms of it technically, but it's also way more.
Yeah. So, yeah, add more. That'd be fun. And you know damn well that people will be like grinding the shit out of those missions, and realistically going in, breaking the first cocoon, seeing it's not a broodmother, leaving, repeat. But those guys are fucking losers. So don't worry about them.
Oh.
Real men will kill hundreds of dreadnoughts until they bump into their first broodmother.
Yeah, and I just think that's something that's something that needs to happen anyway. I think that just has to happen at some point. Just in general, I think it's just kind of owed to everyone, including Ghost themselves, for that to be something we get to fight eventually.
And make one roll call.
Yeah,
and that's how they stretch the
it could be roll call. That's fine. no problem with that. Although I would kind of expect the big thing to not be a Glyphid though in Rogue Core. Like it's probably something else. The core itself. The core.
I assume there's going to be a boss at the end of like every level or stage or whatever, right?
I think that's right. I think we know that actually. I think.
But the first one will probably, either shallowest. Could be a grunt one, dreadnought. It could just be a dreadnought.
Could be a single,
which would make sense because the first enemy boss also then tends to have the most variations. You'll go through it the most times. Like the Fury Sisters in Hades, for example.
God, Tisiphony's so hot.
All for watching.
She's the corpsed up one, by the way. She's the fucking weirdo. Sorry, in case anyone didn't remember which one's which. As usual, thank you everyone so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to see more stuff like this, and you want to stay on top of everything to do Deep Rock and Rogue Core, then click the bell as well. Next week, I have no idea what we're doing.
I will do it.
What do you mean you'll do it?
Actually, I won't. I definitely won't. Never mind. Well, I want to do something, but I don't know what. But next week is not a good idea.
Well, you've got to figure that out then. Okay, but
busy.
I did know that I actually.
In fact,
what?
Well, I might. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get dragged into helping him move out, but they're going to be running around shouting at each other. Chances are, getting stuff packed. So
when?
We'll see. Next Saturday.
On Saturday. Oh well, we'll have to. We can record on Friday. It's fine, isn't it? I did kind of want to do something. I did want to do something gameplay oriented. Actually, that guy mentioning it kind of sparked it, but I don't know how to do that properly because the only thing I can think of that I actually want to do, and I want to do since we found out about some of the new overclocks, was literally like the most damage you can do to a dreadnought, which would be different from Drilling the Namel's video because he basically did like the most damage you can do in the game, and they did it in sandbox room with a belt detonator. I want to basically obliterate dreadnoughts, but you would need like 3 players because you need someone with like conductive thermals and someone with marked for death as well, and then a gunner with volatile. I don't know. Maybe I would like to do something like that, but we'd need to like rope someone in,
Yeah.
Which is possible.
Right. Well, we'll figure that out off screen. Or we won't. Either or. But for now, thank you all for watching. All million of you sitting here, staring at the screen the whole time. You didn't do anything else. This is not on in the background. You are not currently switching this off, so then you don't get the end of video ad, which is a very weird ad. I don't know why they added that. I guess
it's not even like. Do people have a problem with it?
I do. It's annoying. I think like it's like not the end of the video because some videos don't end like too obviously, and then I wait for the ads to end or skip the ads or do some ad thing, and then all of a sudden the video's over. So it's a waste of fucking time. Point is, bye bye.
Point is the video's over.